They thought it was just a supply ship. April 2025. The Red Sea is calm sun coming up another day in a region stuck between tension and truce. Just days earlier, a fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and the Houthis was announced. No direct strikes, no open escalation, but that truce. It didn't cover accidents, it didn't stop drones, and it sure as hell didn't erase mistrust. And somewhere under those waters, a U.S. submarine is running silent. The USS New Mexico, a Virginia-class attack sub 230 feet deep, watching, listening, waiting. Meanwhile, a Houthi sonar operator picks up something big. No escort, no cover, a slow blip near the Yemen coast. Their guest logistics ship, so they launch a UUV, an unmanned underwater vehicle loaded with explosives. What they don't know is that they're aiming at something far more dangerous. And if that truce was holding, it's about to crack. The USS New Mexico didn't take damage, but that wasn't the point. Because in submarine warfare, even being detected is considered a failure being touched. That's unheard of. And now with that UUV brushing the hull, even without exploding, every protocol kicked in. This wasn't about a scratch on steel. This is about what it meant an American submarine had been hit in a war zone during a ceasefire. Just days prior to the event, a temporary truce had been established between the U.S. and the Houthis. No direct assaults, no escalation. But that truce was tenuous, unofficial, fragile, and relied on mutual restraint. It didn't cover misfires, didn't include underwater drones, and certainly didn't apply to American submarines. That's because U.S. submarines fall into a different category. They're not merely weapons, they're strategic platforms, armed with cruise missiles, used for intelligence gathering and occasionally supporting special ops. If you interfere with one, you're not just provoking the Navy, you're provoking a top-tier component of American defense. The USS New Mexico didn't surface. It didn't launch a weapon. It didn't need to. Its alert reached the Eisenhower Strike Group in under 3 seconds. From there, protocols engaged. Because whether the assault was intentional or not, the reaction assumes the worst. Here's how it goes. The sub first verifies there's no critical damage. Then it transfers all sensor data, acoustic, thermal, and magnetic readings up the chain of command. Once the threat is validated, the response is unrestrained. No one says, let's wait and see, because in the Red Sea, hesitation gets people killed. While the Houthis were still figuring out what their drone struck, U.S. analysts already had the launch point, its path, and likely the individuals who programmed it. Whether or not it was a mistake didn't matter. The moment you make contact with a U.S. submarine, you activate the machine. And now, that machine was in motion. The submarine wasn't just any vessel, it was the USS New Mexico SSN 779, a Virginia-class attack sub crafted for one purpose: dominance below the waves. Had the Houthis known that, they might have aimed elsewhere. Let's break it down. The New Mexico is nuclear-powered, meaning it can remain submerged for months. It doesn't need air or fuel. It moves silently, like a phantom. Its hull is coated with anechoic tiles, rubber-like panels that absorb sonar. Its propulsion system uses a pump jet, not a propeller, drastically reducing noise. You don't hear it. You don't see it. You only realize it was there after it's gone. But it's not just stealthy, it's lethal. It carries Tomahawk cruise missiles, Mark 48 torpedoes, and can deploy special forces through a dry deck shelter. It's sharp, and it's not alone, often part of a wider network, collecting intel, assessing threats, or tracking enemy subs. Now here's the crazy part. When the UUV approached, the New Mexico didn't panic. It didn't dive. It executed its drill. The sonar operator identified the approaching drone. Small profile, slow but oddly assertive. Not a mine, not debris, it was guided and coming in fast. The sub made a subtle sidestep. The drone scraped the hull but didn't explode. Still, that light contact was enough. Inside the control room, everyone understood what it meant. The captain didn't shout. He didn't have to. The crew had trained for this weekly. A silent order went out. Data packets were transmitted through secure channels. While the surface remained calm, the Eisenhower Strike Group was already receiving tactical telemetry. Heading, speed, sonar pattern, launch vector. No one aboard the sub knew if it was an attack, but they knew one thing: it wouldn't go unanswered. By the time the UUV touched the hull, the strike group was alert. They didn't wait. Carrier groups don't observe, they act. In the Combat Information Center aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the alert arrived as a burst transmission. No voices, no delays. Just sonar data, contact logs, and one line that mattered. Submarine contact. Unknown UUV. Hull contact confirmed. This wasn't training. This was action. The Eisenhower's radar systems powered up. Destroyers in the formation activated tracking systems. Electronic warfare teams readied jamming gear. Aegis combat modules started formulating strike plans, just in case. This wasn't fear, it was posture. Because even if the truce was still on paper, a hit on a U.S. submarine, intentional or not, reshapes the board. Nearby, the USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, initiated sonar sweeps scanning for more drones. P-8 Poseidon aircraft launched from a Djibouti airstrip loaded with sonobuoys and anti-submarine sensors. In the skies, EA-18G Growlers from the Eisenhower's air wing circled high, ready to jam signals, blind enemy radar, and cloak U.S. movements in digital haze. U.S. Navy engagement rules are strict. One principle is crystal clear: if a strategic platform is even touched, you act. The public hadn't heard a thing yet, but the military had already greenlit a tiered response: limited, calculated, immediate. It was dubbed Operation Deep Pinpoint. Not revenge, not escalation, just risk removal. The order came from Eisenhower's command: prepare a multi-domain strike package. That meant cruise missiles from sea paired with air-based support. Objective: eliminate the UUV launch site and deliver a message. From the Gravely, VLS hatches creaked open, each loaded with Tomahawk missiles locked to fixed GPS targets. A fortified site west of Ras Issa believed to contain drone infrastructure. Above, an E-2D Hawkeye radar aircraft orchestrated the airspace. Behind it, a pair of Growlers, electronic warfare jets primed to disable radar and block comms. That was the first wave. The second wave brought the firepower. 4 FA-18 Super Hornets launched from the Eisenhower's deck, armed with GBU-38JDAMs and AGM-154J SOWs, precision-guided bombs able to strike from long distances. Timing was everything. Growlers led the charge, blanketing Houthi-controlled frequencies. Satellite relays on the coast went silent. Radar screens blinked out. Confusion spread. Then came the Hornets, flying fast and low along the Yemeni coast, dodging residual radar. Their targets: the UUV Command Center, a comms relay suspected of drone control, and a weapons depot detected via thermal imaging. The Tomahawks landed first, fast, silent, and lethal. Their warheads punched through fortified roofs before detonating deep inside. Next, the JDAMs dropped from 20,000 feet, silent until impact. Explosions shook the coastline. Fires broke out, and most crucially, no return fire, no radar locks, no air defenses, no retaliation. That told commanders everything. The strike had caught them off guard. The Houthis never expected a sub to be nearby, let alone a full retaliatory package within reach. To observers from Tehran to Damascus to Moscow, the message was clear: target the wrong platform, and the sky collapses. The strike lasted less than 7 minutes. 3 confirmed hits. 0 American losses. But the fallout wasn't just physical. It was strategic. And that kind of impact lingers. Intercepted Houthi chatter told the story. Silence, then disorder. Confused commands. Units going dark. Some trying to reroute communications. Others simply vanishing. Whatever chain of command had launched the UUV, it had gone quiet. ISR platforms like the MQ-4C Triton maintained overwatch. It tracked heat patterns, vehicle movement, and signals across the region. Its feed showed armed pickups fleeing the site, some heading inland, some abandoned. No one stayed to defend the base. This wasn't a saturation strike. It wasn't about seizing land or dismantling infrastructure. It was a message. You can strike drones, you might even hit a destroyer. But submarines? Off limits. No public White House comment followed, but CENTCOM was clear. De-escalation remains the objective, but U.S. assets will be defended. Translation: we're watching. Try again. We won't hesitate. Then came the quiet shifts. U.S. submarines adjusted their patrol patterns. Strike groups boosted air cover. Coalition partners, France, the UK, increased coordination across the Red Sea. Even Houthi propaganda channels went silent. No triumph videos, no boasts of downed aircraft, just recycled clips from older incidents, none matching the real event. The entire operation was scrubbed from public view. Now, every drone operator, radar technician, and comms specialist knows touching a U.S. submarine is like playing with fire. And next time, the response might not be restrained. So here's the big question. What if it wasn't an accident? What if the UUV was never aimed at a supply ship? What if the Houthis, or their backers, knew exactly what they were targeting? Because that shifts everything. If it was a probe, a test, a message, then the rules have changed. Not just in the Red Sea, but in all underwater theaters. In subsurface warfare, intent matters less than ability. Once you show you can get that close to a submarine, it doesn't matter why. You just proved you could. And for the U.S. Navy, that's a red line. Virginia-class subs are more than weapons. They're strategic sentinels, the first strike option, the silent shadow. If one is spotted, or worse, contacted, that's a breakdown of silence. And silence is everything. If the Houthis can reach a sub even once, it opens a door that's nearly impossible to close. Next time, it might not be a scrape, it might be a detonation, a breach, a confirmed hit. And when that happens, truce or not, the gloves come off. You can down a drone, maybe even nick a destroyer and call it propaganda. But a submarine? That's different. If you're watching this and thinking, this couldn't really happen, remember, underwater drones are already in the mix. Submarines like the USS New Mexico are already deployed, and all it takes is one bad signal, one misread ID, one snap decision in a control room that doesn't get second chances. Then, everything changes. So what do you think? Would the Houthis deliberately target a U.S. submarine? Could a group like that risk it? Or was this bound to happen eventually? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are underwater drones the next big threat? Or are submarines still too stealthy and deadly to mess with? Let us know. We read every comment. And if this scenario got your gears turning, if it gave you a clearer view of how underwater warfare unfolds, hit that like button to let us know you're in. Subscribe for more fact-driven analysis. Real military gear, real tactics, realistic operations. And if you want to go a step further, join the fleet. Get badges, priority replies, and help us bring more authentic naval stories to light. Until next time, stay sharp, stay steady, and remember, sometimes the threat you never see is the one that rewrites the battlefield.